Well, guys, it is now time for my Week 7 picks of the 2023 NFL season. As last week, I went 10-5, much better than the previous week, and looks like my third best week of the year, so hopefully Week 7 will keep it up. And of course, here's the regular season stands and the playoff stands at the season end of the day. In the AFC, it's the Chiefs with the bye, with Browns at Dolphins, Steelers at Ravens, and Bills at Jaguars. In the NFC, it's Eagles with the bye, with Rams at 49ers, Seahawks at Lions, and Cowboys at Buccaneers. And my Super Bowl pick right now would be the 49ers over the Chiefs. Alright, so we get to my Week 7 picks, and ignore the stats right here because the site I get my stats from is completely broken. Not only has not shown the Raiders stats whatsoever, like I've mentioned before, and I mentioned last week how the stats have not looked really right, well, it hasn't updated the stats since week 2. And there's no other site that has the update stats in the exact same format that site does, and it would take way too long to just update them. So that really pisses me off because having stats here really helped me determine who I think my picks would be. So if anyone knows a site that shows, does like lineups.com where it shows all the stats and they're ranked right on the same page right next to each other, please help me find one, because that would be very useful. Because I can't do the stats right now, unfortunately. So, just ignore them just like I'm going to ignore them. Alright, with that out of the way, so we get to my Thursday night picks. A big outer conference matchup, as it's the Jaguars at the Saints for the first time since 2015. The Saints won the last 4. The Jaguars haven't beaten them since 2003. And they have never won in New Orleans. So the Jaguars follow the Colts to have the lead in the division, as they've won 3 in a row pretty convincingly, too. They're looking a lot better at the moment after the 2 weeks that they're struggling. Meanwhile, the Saints lost to the Texans in a close one. This is going to be interesting. Saints are trying to catch up with the Buccaneers. Jaguars are trying to get a big lead in the AFC South. And, of course, Trevor Lawrence got injured last week, so who knows if he's necessarily going to be playing. I think the last I heard he was questionable. Oh, man, this is going to be a tough one to pick. I think I might just barely pick the Jaguars with Lawrence probably still showing up. Alright, so then we get to Sunday action, as it's a big one in the our conference matchup, as it's the Lions at the Ravens for the first time since 2017. The Ravens won the last 4, the Lions haven't beaten them since 2005, and they've never won in Baltimore. So the Lions have now won 4 in a row after pretty much spanking the Buccaneers. Meanwhile, the Ravens, oh my god, the team they beat won't come to my head now. I feel stupid for some reason. But I know they won. Oh yeah, they beat the Titans in London. There we go. Been having that way too many times over the last few years where I just can't remember a team they beat the previous week or whatever. So yeah, another interesting matchup. And right now, I trust the Lions more after the Buccaneers victory. So I'm going to pick the Lions to get this one. And then it's the Raiders at the Bears for the first time since 2015. The Bears won the last one. The Raiders haven't beaten them since 2019. And they haven't won Chicago since 1993. So, 2 close defensive victories for the Raiders as they're back at 500, trying to get back over 500, first time since week 1. Meanwhile, the Bears, after the 2 incredible offensive games they had the previous 2 weeks, they've now lost to the Vikings in a defensive struggle. And Fields got knocked out, so who knows if he's going to even play. But even if he does, I feel like the Raiders have the momentum right now, so I'm going to pick the Raiders for this one. And then we get to a big AFC matchup, as it's the Browns at the Colts for the first time since 2017. The Browns won the last one. The Colts haven't beaten them since 2017. And the Browns haven't won in Indianapolis since 2011. So the Browns, of course, beat the Buccaneers in a defensive struggle, as they gave them their first loss of the year, as they have the league's best defense in the league, but their offense is completely horrible. Meanwhile, the Colts lost blowout to the Jaguars as Minshew played horribly, and it sounds like Richard might possibly be out for the season with a season-ending injury, so that would suck, unfortunately. And after how Minshew played, that might kill the Colts season, unfortunately. But still have some faith in them right now. This will be very interesting. Could the Browns defense do enough to get the victory? Because their offense is terrible. They got lucky and beat the 49ers, but it's not going to be easy beating the Colts either. I think I might trust their defense more than the Colts, so I'm going to pick the Browns for this one, but I won't be surprised if the Colts get it. Then it's the Bills at the Patriots, as the Bills won the last 3. The Patriots haven't beaten them since 2021, and they haven't won at home against them since 2019. So, the Bills, that was an ugly, ugly victory against the Giants. And if anything, they probably should have lost to the Giants with how embarrassing they played. That was not an impressive victory. My view of the Bills really went down after that. Meanwhile, the Patriots, hard-fought game, but once again, could not win as they lost to the Raiders, as they now lost 3 in a row. Not looking good. Maybe the Patriots could be in a prime position for an upset, but I doubt that, though, so I'm going to pick the Bills for this. Then it's the Commanders at the Giants, as the Giants won the last one. The Commanders haven't beaten them since 2021, and the Giants haven't won at home against them since 2020, since last year's game, remember, was a tie. So the Commanders, they finally ended their 3-game losing streak, beating the Falcons, as they're trying to get back over 500 since week 3. Meanwhile, the Giants, actually a very impressive victory. I mean, not victory, but an impressive loss over the Bills. Their defense showed up. Their offense just couldn't pull it through at the end. My view of the Giants went up a lot after that. But will it be enough, though, to beat the Commanders, who are, like, incredibly inconsistent? This might be a surprise pick. I think I picked the Giants leading this week, but I think I might trust the Commanders more going for this one. And then we get to a big NFC South matchup, as it's the Falcons at the Buccaneers. Falcons won the last one. The Buccaneers haven't beaten them since 2022, and the Falcons haven't won in Tampa since 2019. So the Falcons lost to the Commanders, trying to avoid going under 500 for the first time this year, get back over 500. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers lost to the Lions pretty embarrassingly, as they're trying to avoid getting to 500 and getting a big lead in the NFC South if they beat the Falcons here. I think I'm still going to pick the Buccaneers for this one. Alright, so then we get to the 4 p.m. games. Starting with a big 1-hour conference, as it's the Steelers at the Rams for the first time since 2015. Steelers won the last 3. The Rams haven't beaten them since 2003, and they haven't won it. And the Steelers haven't won in LA or on the road against them since 1993, although that was in LA. So the Steelers came off their bye after they beat the Ravens last week, and pretty horrible offensive game. I don't know. I think Pickens got hurt too in that game, so I'm sure he might be well played because it's been a week since 2 weeks since they last played. They didn't look good, but their defense got the job done. Meanwhile, the Rams beat the Cardinals, spanked them pretty good to get back to 500, as they're trying to get back over 500 since week 1. But honestly, I trust the Steelers' defense more than I trust the Rams, so I'm going to pick the Steelers for this one. And then it's the Cardinals at the Seahawks, as the Seahawks won the last 3. The Cardinals haven't beaten them since 2021, as the Cardinals, of course, got destroyed by the Rams. Seahawks, meanwhile, a hard-fought defensive game, but they could not beat the Bengals, as the Seahawks have not been really impressing me so far this year. They don't look the same, but they put up a good fight against the Bengals still, but I'm going to still pick the Seahawks for this one. And then it's the Packers at the Broncos for the first time since 2015, as the Packers won the last one. The Broncos haven't beaten them since 2015. The Packers haven't won in Denver since 2007. That will be one hell of an interesting game, as the Packers came off their bye after they choked it against the Raiders, as Jordan Love has not looked good these last 3 games, pretty much. That's a very big concern. Meanwhile, the Broncos lost in a kind of a defensive struggle to the Chiefs, as Russell Wilson, after playing mostly good for the season, had a terrible game this year. Yeah, the defense showed up, but Russell Wilson didn't. And all the times Russell Wilson showed up, the defense didn't. Like, I kind of want to pick the Broncos for this because Russell Wilson's been a lot better lately, but I just don't trust them. They're just too inconsistent. So I'm going to pick the Packers still for this one. And then we get to a big AFC West matchup despite the record, as it's the Chargers at the Chiefs. The Chiefs won the last 3. The Chargers haven't beaten them since 2021. So the Chargers, once again in a defensive struggle, couldn't beat the Cowboys as they're back under 500. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, oh my gosh. The team they beat won't come to my head. Oh, that's right, they beat the Broncos. I was just mentioned. Thank you. So they beat the Broncos in defensive struggles. They also have not looked really good so far this year compared to last year. Now, remember, Chargers and Chiefs, they play each other very close since 2020 when Herbert came in. So this could be a very close game, but I'm still going to pick the Chiefs for this one. But I won't be surprised if the Chargers get it. You can never be surprised. And then we get to Sunday night. A huge matchup between like the 2 best teams record-wise in each conference, as it's the Dolphins at the Eagles for the first time since 2015. As the Dolphins won the last 2, the Eagles haven't beaten them since 2011, and they haven't won home in Philly since 2015. So the Dolphins, of course, trying to win to get ahead of the Chiefs, and the Eagles are trying to win to keep ahead of the 49ers. So the Dolphins destroyed the Panthers as they continue to have one of the best offenses in the league. Meanwhile, the Eagles finally lost, as they lost to the Jets, as they completely choked away, as Jalen Hurts played horrendous in that game. Like I said, the Eagles has just not been as good as they were last year. That 5-1 record's pretty much like a sham. So yeah, This will be a very interesting game to see, as the Eagles are going to have to face one of the best offenses in the league, and I'm trying to trust the Dolphins to get this one. And then we get to Monday night, as it's the 49ers at the Vikings for the first time since 2018. As the Vikings, the 49ers won the last one. The Vikings haven't beaten them since 2018. And the 49ers have not won in Minneapolis since 1992. So the 49ers also lost their first game of the year last week when they lost the defensive struggle to the Browns. Meanwhile, the Vikings got a needed victory over the Bears as they're trying to avoid a worse record than last year. This will be very interesting. All the games for the Vikings pretty much are close, but they're going to have to go up against one of the best teams in the league, who they haven't lost at home in 31 years. This will be very interesting, but I'm going to pick the 49ers still for this one. Alright, so those are my picks for Week 7. I cannot wait for Jaguars at Saints tonight, so my picks are the Jaguars over the Saints, the Lions over the Ravens, the Raiders over the Bears, the Browns over the Colts, the Bills over the Patriots, the Commanders over the Giants, the Falcons over the Buccaneers over the Falcons, the Steelers over the Rams, the Seahawks over the Cardinals, the Packers over the Broncos, the Chiefs over the Chargers, the Dolphins over the Eagles, and the 49ers over the Vikings. Alright guys, see you all next time for Week 8.